Hello my fellow dinosaur geeks, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Josh and today I want to take you with me on the journey of a little kid obsessed with dinosaurs to becoming a dinosaur artist. So if you like Jurassic Park, dinosaurs, paleo art, dinosaur model building, or just want to see how a passion can turn into something bigger, this video might be for you. Dinosaurs have been part of my life for as long as I can remember. I think my earliest memories have to be my dad showing me the scene of the Brachiosaurus from Jurassic Park. I mean, that scene is pure magic. And I think that scene alone probably influenced a whole generation of dinosaur kids. From that moment I was hooked. I got my hand on every dinosaur book I could get. I had like 200 Schleich figures, a lot of Jurassic Park comics and magazines, and even some of the original Kenner figures. I still remember the day my parents gifted me my first Jurassic Park toys. My parents told me to come to the living room and I remember there was a box and we sat down on the ground together and opened the package. And there was a Jungle Explorer, a Bush Devil Tracker, the young T-Rex, a Velociraptor, I think a Dilophosaurus and a Dimetrodon as well. And those toys were the best. Like for years they were the grail of my collection. I collected Kenner figures all throughout my teenage years, even up to my early 20s. And even though Mattel released some really cool figures, I would always put Kenner above them. I would say what also really influenced me was Walking with Dinosaurs by BBC and T-Rex Back to the Cretaceous, the IMAX movie that wasn't that well received, but it still has a very special place in my heart. Like Jurassic Park got me interested into dinosaurs and T-Rex Back to the Cretaceous got me to want to be a paleontologist. But not only was I into the dinosaur media like movies and documentaries, I loved watching the behind the scenes and making ofs. Even as a kid I was amazed that human hands could create something that amazing like Stan Winston's team did for the Jurassic Park movies. The animatronics, puppets and maquettes, pure art. And speaking of those maquettes, I think they play a major role in me becoming a dinosaur artist. If you grew up with Jurassic Park and had some merchandise, you probably remember all those trading cards, magazines, books, posters. The maquettes were printed all over it, so they already burned into my head as a child. So for years I dreamed of owning one of these. So getting to the interesting part. There was a day, I remember, where I was watching the old Stan Winston videos and still thought like, oh my god, this is so cool. And then I looked over to my shelf with my dinosaur figures and the first thought that came to my mind was, why are they not as lifelike as they look in the movie? And then it hit me. What if I could paint one of those figures to make them look like they came straight out of the movie? So I just started without prior art knowledge other than drawing a little bit when I was in my teenage years. I just bought an airbrush and gave it a shot. My first model kit, if I remember right, was a Horizon Velociraptor, which I wanted to paint like the male Velociraptors from my favorite movie, The Lost World. Was it perfect? No. But I had so much fun and I knew if I kept going, I can get better. And that's where the journey began. I got more and more models. It was a huge try and error process and not all of them turned out that well. That's just something you gotta keep in mind. If you start with anything, doesn't matter if it's art or something else, you won't be a master in the beginning. But the important thing is, keep at it. Just keep at it. Always push yourself, try out new techniques, new colors. That's what I did. I just painted a huge variety of different models to get a feeling on how to paint. And I was super obsessed. Like in the beginning, I remember I had days where I would paint like 12 to 13 hours on a weekend if I had the time. But for me, it wasn't important to become the best, more like to improve. Because as an artist, you never fully learned. Never. But just to give you an idea, this was only 3.5 years ago, so it is possible if you pour your heart into it. At first, I was rushing through projects. Of course, if you want to start, you want to see results. That's totally normal. But as soon as I slowed down and got more honest with my work, like I started to ask myself, when I was finished with a project, would I display this piece? Does it really look good? Is it what I had in mind? And that was another huge improving moment for me. And I have to thank one person for it, my good friend the great Milan Livada. Like, he changed everything for me. He didn't sugarcoat things. If my work was bad, he told me. If there was a section which I obviously rushed, he told me. At first I was making excuses, of course, but as soon as I took his words seriously, I started to see what he saw. So thanks, brother, for kicking my butt when I needed it. He's actually the reason I'm that good today. The important lesson to get out of it is take your time, be patient. These days I sit weeks on my projects. Trying to be fast will give you quick results, but mostly not great results. So doing project after project, there was a day that also changed a lot for me. My first commission work. Like the thought of someone liking my work so much that he trusts me to work on his model. I gotta be honest, that was a cool feeling. And taking this and more commissions later on, I realized how much I learned. Like adapting to the client's vision, pushed myself to come out of my comfort zone and go beyond my personal preferences to meet someone else's expectations. So over the years, commissions kept coming in and I got more sharper, more precise and generally better as an artist. Another thing that changed a lot for me, not only as an artist but as a dinosaur blogger. I realized that people loved watching the process of me painting. So I started uploading those videos more and more, and that's where my channel really exploded. Within a few months I gained like 40,000 followers or more. And the best thing about it is not the amount of followers, but the people I met through them. Because finally people found my work. I met so many cool people and especially artists. Just gotta give some shout outs to Alice Wright. She gave me fantastic tips, brought me on to Createx Colors, which is still my go-to paint company to buy all my paints from. They are absolutely amazing, but I will tell you more about that in another video. She also gave me her color palette for the male Velociraptor from The Lost World, which, by the way, is still what I use today. So Alice, if you're watching, thank you. Also, one of my biggest inspirations, especially in the beginning, was Manuel Under. I think the guy needs no introduction. If you're a Jurassic Park fan and on social media, you have seen his work. He's absolutely amazing. Like probably the most influential Jurassic artist out there. And I'm very glad for the great talks we had. Also, Marco Makes, one of the coolest guys in the community, and he's so talented. And I was lucky enough to get to work with him last year. We brought together a maquette that was never built by the Stan Winston team, the Jurassic Park 3 Ceratosaurus. Marco sculpted that thing and it's absolutely amazing. Like, that thing is Stan Winston level. And I tried to replicate the original paint job as good as I can. And it's definitely one of my favorite pieces in my collection. Check out his channel. I will put his link down in the description. Who also deserve a big shout out are my friends, also business partners, Jurassic Journey. We met through a friend of mine and learned that we had kinda the same vision. So we just decided to work together and collaborate over some great projects. You can buy our baby Velociraptors, which I put a link down in the description as well. They are sculpted by Jurassic Journey and painted by me. We also had this very cool Brachiosaurus lamb, which I was actually able to paint live at the Comic-Con in Stuttgart, which was a very cool experience because people were so amazed by seeing me painting a dinosaur. Jurassic Journey and I are still working on a lot of projects, and there will probably be a lot of cool things coming. So Nadine, Oscar, love to you guys. And meeting all those people opened a lot of opportunities for me to be part of projects which I can't talk about right now, but they will be absolutely amazing and I can't wait to tell you more about them. So at first I was only doing Jurassic Park models, but in the recent years I got more and more into the scientific part again. Like, as a child I was super obsessed with the scientific part as well, but I would say over my teenage years the obsession kinda shifted to Jurassic Park mostly. But I'm so glad I found my interest in science again, because I mean, that's the actual animal. The more I dived into that, the more, of course, I wanted to do some paleo-accurate models. And the first thing I did was a very cool Spinosaurus diorama. I think the Spinosaurus is already outdated, but Spinosaurus is the biggest shapeshifter ever, so doing a current accurate model is almost impossible. But I still love the diorama and I was really pushing myself. I was very ambitious. I have never done a base of that size, worked with any water effects, but it turned out really cool. I repainted the figure, which was made by PNSO, and basically built the whole thing into a picture frame, which is a really cool thing to use for bases, but I can go more into that in another video. I still love that diorama to this day. One of my favorite projects was probably my Plesiosaurus wilsoni, which is based on a fossil found just recently. And I got this bust directly from the Dickinson Museum Center, who based it off a paleoart which was done based on the fossils found. And I think doing those models was a huge improving moment for me again, because when I was doing Jurassic Park models, I was of course copying existing designs, which is a great way to start out, because you have something you can reference from. But the more serious I got, and the more confident I got, the more I wanted to do like my own designs, and incorporating that into the paleo accurate models was the perfect way. I mean, there are a lot of dinosaurs which by now we know the colors, Microraptor or Boreoraptor for example, but mostly the others are kind of speculation, so you have somewhat of a artistic freedom, I would say, and that is so much fun for me. Don't get me wrong, I love Jurassic Park. I grew up with it. It's one of the most important things in my life. But from an artist point of view, I think going into the paleo art section, so to say, is the next improving point for me. And this is my main goal in 2025, diving more into paleo art, doing my own designs, and maybe even sculpting my own very first piece. So those of you who are asking yourself, I'm not doing this full-time, unfortunately. I'm only doing this part-time. Maybe an opportunity will open up in the future to make my living out of it, which would be my dream, of course. But till that day arrives, I will keep pushing myself to become better and better and just get my work out there. So yeah, that was basically it. There will be a separate video where I will talk about some tips about the colors I use, why I do something I do the way I do it. If you're still watching, thank you. If you're an artist, keep pushing yourself, and most importantly, just have fun. The more fun you will have, the more you will keep improving. Also, if you're just a dinosaur fan, keep geeking out. If you haven't already, hit the like button, subscribe to my channel, and leave a comment down below. And don't forget, hold on to your butts.